There is something beautiful about Denis Villeneuve's films. Their sometimes vast scopes are always centered on very personal and often internal conflicts, and this holds true to his newest and most expensive film, Dune Part 2. The delay of Dune Part 2 to 2024 hit me pretty hard. The trailers and little sneak peeks of this massive film created an extreme amount of hype, and to hear that the film had been delayed was frustrating. But now that the wait is over and Dune Part 2 is officially out in the wild, I can say that Denis Villeneuve has once again delivered on all fronts. The first Dune film was a shock to even the most hardened Villeneuve fans like myself. A work of fiction, often called unfilmable, was rendered in magnificent fashion. A work of fiction, often called unfilmable, was rendered in magnificent fashion. But while the amazing setup contained within Part 1 was a triumph, I was worried how Villeneuve would handle the payoff. There is almost no film in the last decade that matches the scale of Dune Part 2. Every piece of this film is perfectly crafted, from the costumes to the sets to the visual effects. When taken out of context, many pieces of Dune's world would come off as strange or even silly. But when you're sitting down watching the movie, nothing feels strange. It feels perfectly at home. The first film had a larger scale than its sequel, but Dune Part 2 has a level of detail that is simply unmatched. The lore that often keeps people away from the story isn't dumbed down or cut. The history and culture of Frank Herbert's worlds is on full display, and the story is much better for it. The design of each of the characters and sets are perfectly built and feel futuristic in the best kind of way. The diverse cultures depicted in Dune Part 2 are brought to life through the meticulously designed costumes and cultural aesthetics. Each noble house has its distinctive attire, reflecting their status and traditions. The ornate and detailed costumes contribute to the world building, providing visual cues about the characters' backgrounds and affiliations. Cultural richness extends beyond clothing to include architecture, symbols, and rituals, creating a visually immersive experience that adds depth to the narrative. The production design of Dune is some of the best in an already amazing genre. It makes the film feel truly epic. The first Dune film put together one of the best blockbuster casts we've ever had the pleasure of seeing on the big screen. Dune Part 2 continues in this fashion and brings in Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, and Christopher Walken. The first film was full of great performances, with Oscar Isaac and Stellan Skarsgård stealing the show. With Isaac gone, another actor needed to take his place. While Florence Pugh and Christopher Walken were amazing in their more calm and subtle political roles, Austin Butler is this movie. Fade Rautha is one of my favorite characters in Dune, and Butler is perfect as this character. Fade is always the most dangerous Austin Butler in this movie. He completely disappeared into this role. Hans Zimmer once again pulls out all of the stops for this sequel, and while I preferred the scope in Dune Part 1, his follow-up is still beautiful. The haunting and pulsating soundtrack complements the on-screen action, enhancing the emotional impact of each scene. But the score kind of takes a back seat in this film, and there weren't as many moments where the score takes over the movie like in the first film. Dune Part 2 is not a film for passive consumption. Its deliberate pacing and intricate world-building demand the audience's full attention and engagement. Multiple viewings are not only recommended, but I'd say necessary to fully appreciate the nuances of the narrative and the craftsmanship that went into creating this cinematic masterpiece. A 2-hour and 40-minute runtime flies by as each scene builds on the sense of impending violence and war. Dune Part 1 allowed for the building of the world and the conflict between the houses Atreides and House Harkonnen to be established. There was a good amount of time spent with Paul and his mother, but the sequel dives deeper into their characters. Moreover, the deliberate pacing allows for character development that goes beyond the surface. Viewers are given the opportunity to delve into the motivations, fears, and aspirations of the characters. This depth enhances the emotional resonance of the narrative, fostering a stronger connection between the audience and the characters as they reach the climax of this epic journey. While the deliberate pacing of the first half may challenge those accustomed to faster-paced war films, it rewards patient viewers with an ending that goes beyond mere spectacle. It is an invitation to contemplation and reflection, encouraging audiences to explore the complex themes and moral dilemmas that provide the meat of this sci-fi action sandwich. As far as my knowledge of CGI and digital effects go, Dune Part 2 has perhaps the best CGI I've ever seen. There is not a single frame in this film that doesn't look real. Everything is tactile and lifelike. At no moment did the visual effects take me out of the filmic experience. I was locked in the entire time. Dune is a challenging story to undertake, both in its large scale and powerful themes. While the big set pieces can be handled with a large budget and a skilled director, the themes of the book, namely its anti-religion and anti-nationalistic sentiment, would be trickier. There was a chance that Hollywood studios wouldn't give the themes of the book the time and effort they deserve. The narrative is intertwined with religious and prophetic elements, with the Bene Gesserit sisterhood manipulating bloodlines and breeding programs to produce a prophesied figure known as the Kwisatz Haderach. Paul Atreides, portrayed by Timothée Chalamet, grapples with his destiny as the Masonic figure, blurring the lines between politics and spirituality. This exploration of religion and prophecy adds layers of complexity to the story, inviting contemplation on the nature of belief, destiny, and the manipulation of religious orders. Dune Part 2 ends with perhaps the most important moment in the Dune saga, the start of Paul's interplanetary genocide. Rarely in media do protagonists commit crimes at this level, and I can't wait to see how the actual Holy War takes place. Villeneuve's commitment to honoring the source material while infusing the film with his unique vision results in a faithful and even better adaptation than his first outing.